access later. So if you want to ask or write question in the chat, you can access the Zoom call, join the chat, and write. While he's talking, there might be some questions popping up. You can write the questions in the chat box. And this is being recorded. Of course, you are barely there, but if you don't want to, you can just move out from the camera. And Robert just wanted to have it and to record his lecture for his own purpose. But if you don't want to, you can just move out. Okay, Robert, so I leave the floor to you.
Okay, thank you. It's very nice to be here. Thank you, Lara, for the invitation. I would have loved to come and be in the room personally. It would have been a lot easier than all this technology, but it is what it is, and we'll try to see if we can hear each other. Yes, as Lara said, my name is Robert Hall. I've been very involved with the Eco-Village movement for the last, 12 years, both very locally but very globally as well. So I've actually, previous to getting involved in the Global Eco-Village Network, I'd visited Oroville several times. I was living in India for 2 years, working with the UN and visiting Oroville. So that was an early inspiration for me. And Oroville is one of our unique, very large examples of a community. It itself doesn't like to be called an eco-village. It likes to be seen as a city, an eco-city. But most of the eco-villages which the Global Eco-Village Network organizes are very small. We have a rule in Europe that you need at least 8 adults in Europe living permanently to call yourself or to be a full member of the Global Eco-Village Network in Europe. But there are both eco-villages smaller than 8 persons, and then we have many, of course, that are 30, 40 is quite normal. And then in Denmark, we're quite happy that we have maybe 5 or 6 that are over several hundred people. So there are quite large ones as well. I call 200, 300 people large. And I should say, well, I'm on that Denmark is actually one of the origins of the Eco-Village movement. Of course, the Eco-Village movement are spontaneous projects, not orchestrated or encouraged by anyone else. It's people's own initiative for various reasons, realizing that there's something wrong with the system. We want to try something different. We want something else out of life. So this is the impetus of why people start eco-villages. It's very different. And it's like mushrooms coming up out of the ground in different places. The Eco-Village Network, the Global Eco-Village Network, which was created in 1995, tried to organize already existing eco-villages like Oroville, and also tried to make some sort of structure, a global structure, and I'm really proud of that, as a real global structure. In every part of the world, there is a continental umbrella organization, and there are national networks. And in these national networks, you find the eco-villages. So there's some sort of peer-to-peer assistance helping new eco-villages by the older eco-villages. And we have a very good global organization where monthly meetings of the youth of these eco-villages, monthly meetings of the eco-villages themselves in different councils, a steward council to try to push the eco-village movement forward. So it's an extremely well-organized network, even if it has very little funding. So everything is done on a very idealistic basis. And we have a headquarters in Findhorn Eco-Village in Scotland. We have a European headquarters, used to be in Denmark, but we have our European headquarters now in Spain, in an eco-village in Spain, with the legal German entity actually based in Germany. I'm going to see if I can share my screen here. Well, here it was. So,
Yeah,
yep,
we can see it very well.
okay, but it's not full screen, is it?
No, it's not. Maybe you can just press play, maybe up there.
Play there.
Maybe.
There.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what I wanted to show you was this picture, which it has many names. You know, we say in Swedish that a love child has many names. This image has many names. It's sometimes called the Gaia Mandala. Sometimes it's called the 4 dimensions plus 1. And the latest name for it is the Ecovillage Map of Regeneration. So it has different names, but basically what it's trying to show is the 4 components of the ecovillage, being the social, the cultural, the economic, and the ecological, pulled together in the middle by this whole systems design. And this says a few really important things. Once that ecovillages are not just eco, they're very much about an economic system for everyone, a social inclusive system, and a culture, a new way of interacting with each other, a new culture. And what ecovillages excel at are actually what's in the middle, a whole systems design with limited resources, limited time, limited possibilities, making everything function, pulling everything together in the middle, and making sure that, you know, people are happy, people have their needs met, etc. And that's what ecovillages are really good at. If you're looking for the world's best system of schooling or of solar voltaic alternative energy, it's not going to be in ecovillages. Ecovillages have to balance these different aspects to make everything fit together well. And the interesting thing, why I'm personally fascinated about ecovillages, is that everyone is unique. Like I said, they're mushrooms coming out of the soil. They're not orchestrated from above. There's no template. So every ecovillage is unique. And what's really unique in ecovillages is the social glue that keeps that community together. Why do these people work together trying to create something? And that social glue is different in every ecovillage. It may be spirituality, religion, it could be politics, it could be social relationship, classmates. There's various reasons why people pull together and try to create an ecovillage project. Right, there's in the dark blue on the side, there's a definition of the ecovillage. There's a lot of definitions out there. It says here a community. And so we have intentional communities in Europe, but in other parts of the world, we have also traditional villages that become ecovillages. We have also urban projects that become ecovillages. So ecovillage is a very elastic label for a community of people that are intentionally trying to achieve some sort of regenerative mode together, working on all aspects. Not saying they're succeeding on all aspects, but they're working on them. I can say something about myself. I started a community 15 years ago on the island of Gotland, which used to be Danish for 100 years. So just outside of Visby, we have a community called Söderbyn, and it's a very, yeah, I think it's unique. All ecovillages are unique. We're working on all aspects, I would say, of the ecovillage map of regeneration. And this book, this is actually what you see here is a book that I wrote in connection with a project we had of promoting ecovillages around the Baltic Sea. And I just wanted to show you, this was an example of trying to get ecovillages to consider being involved in business, because there is a lot of aversion in ecovillages, or traditional aversion in ecovillages, to getting too involved in business activities. This is maybe a privilege in rich Europe, We see in Eastern Europe and in the global South, of course, ecovillages need to find new means of surviving. And in maybe in Western Europe, people find different ways to survive economically without too much businesses. But most ecovillages have some sort of business that allows people to stay there. Many of them function as like training centers, education centers, or some of them are productive, being able to sell off food or sell off something else that they're producing. I also wrote a paper in 2015 about ecovillages developing in a very interesting trial and error way a culture that promotes well-being. And it's sort of just a natural process of making sure that people are seen, making sure that people feel well, making sure that people feel included, and that we know what we're doing together as a group, that we make decisions that do not oppress anyone. So developing new decision-making models, making new ways of living together and sharing the tasks. And what's interesting that these methods that have been developed over the last 50 years in ecovillages have later been shown by scientific research as ways of achieving well-being. I mean, it's what we would call today mindfulness. So a lot of mindfulness about appreciating each other, about appreciating what we have, is something that's been sort of developed in many different ecovillages in many different ways, and that's what we're seeing. And this can be interesting for the larger society. And the ecovillage movement realized that it was not that ready to actually be able to transfer some of the ideas of ecovillages to the larger society. We've tried to do it as like a national network, make projects to support urban change. But we've used this vehicle, Ecovillages, here in Europe, as an umbrella organization together with like-minded movements like the permaculture movement, like the transition movement, a lot of research organizations, environmental organizations, rural development groups under this big umbrella called Ecovillages, where we can actually directly interface with, for example, the European Parliament, the European Commission, and we're very well received. Last year, I was invited to participate in the European rural visioning process, and we were able to very well give our opinions about how Europe could rethink how the relationship between urban and rural areas should be changed. I'm involved now in also how European funding needs to have more citizen participation. So these are some of the ways we're trying to influence the wider society. And I come to this. This is a relatively new organization, which I'm not involved with personally, but I note that many of the progressive type thinking about how to change capitalism, how to change economics, how to make an economics that really meets everyone's needs, has been a lot of the greatest minds have gathered together in this Earth for All, and these are their push is definitely moving in the direction of we need to reform the system, we need to reform capitalism as such, the modern society, because we have some serious problems. Both maybe people are not all appreciating a good life, but also we are hitting system problems, which of course is the impetus for the whole eco-village movement. Is we saw problems, but now they're becoming more and more acute, that we're coming towards an environmental and climatic crisis and catastrophe that we have to do something about. And these are mainly economists and some other climate researchers that are actually coming up with solutions how you could change the system.